once the meeting starts.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Welcome to the Board of Elections and Registration special called board meeting. Today is October 20th. It is 5:01 p.m. and we will call the meeting to order. We have established quorum. We have all board members here at the moment. If you want to, we can go ahead and call the roll. We have Michelle Croquetier here. Crochetier. I'm gonna get it right, Michelle.
Director Kid got it. Yep.
Bob Proctor.
Here.
Kevin Evans.
Yeah.
Maurice Hurry.
Yes, I'm here.
And myself, Maisha Good. So thank you for being here today. We are also joined by Director Kidd and our attorneys, Leslie Susan, County Attorney Michael Coleman, and Aaron Watson. So with that, before we start, may we have approval of the agenda from a board member?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
And also I want to mention that we will go into executive session today as well. So with that, is there probably?
I have a question about the agenda, please.
Yes, sir.
The one that just came out, office report, is that going to be germane to what this meeting is about?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, next we'll have citizen comments, followed by office report, and then we'll go into executive session and then board member concerns. Director Kidd?
We have the first individual. Well, we have one individual that signed up today, but we have a second individual, Miss Linda Crape, that is requesting permission to speak to the board after Miss Elizabeth Benedict. If you agree, Madam Chair.
Yes, it's approved. Thank you.
Okay, we will have the first speaker come on now.
And all speakers have 3 minutes to speak, so we could have a timekeeper. That would be great. Okay, so Miss Elizabeth is first.
1 second, I will instruct you.
Okay.
When to begin. Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All documents that I have provided to the board are easily obtained through an open records request. The documents that I sent to the BORE are legal documents filed and obtained by this request through the Freedom Information Act. This includes the divorce filings as well as Henry Mitchell III Declaration of Candidacy. The divorce documents are being used because they show the division of real property. Mr. Mitchell was awarded the property on Blackberry Lane, Villa Rica, while other parties were granted the property in District 1. The third property that is listed as a rental property, and Mr. Mitchell has reported receiving income on it. The divorce papers also show that the separation of real property began on July 19th, 2020. Also, all legal documents prove that he received mail at Blackberry Lane in Villa Rica, because this is the address where the legal documents are served and received and delivered for early filing. Later in the documents, Mr. Mitchell also agrees that the address in Blackberry Lane in Villa Rica is his known address. Additionally, in pursuant of Georgia Code 45-2-1, Mr. Mitchell must live in the district that he is running for a period of 12 months prior to submitting his declaration of candidacy. And since the divorce documents state that he moved from the Mountain Creek home in District 1 to Blackberry Lane on July 19, 2020, he does not meet this requirement. Mr. Mitchell claims he still receives mail in District 1. Well, if that is true to make a residency, then I have 4 or 5 people still claiming my address. I get mail several times a week from people who lived at my home prior to me purchasing it in 2016. Mr. Mitchell, in the Sentinel article posted 10/19/22 on Facebook, said his voting registration, which also means his driver's license because they have to match, and his car registration is still listed in the home in District 1. This tells me, like his oath of the qualification form, he is willing to sign paperwork with the wrong address across several governmental agencies. He has done the proper paperwork to change his residency, so he retained his ability to run in the candidacy for District 1. I'm sorry, what?
We're approaching the time.
Okay. The true victims of the case are the people of District 1 because Mr. Mitchell is willing to sign several documents with the wrong address. He has taken away the ability for the people in District 1 to be representative. The paperwork that has turned into you shows the separation of real property, with Mr. Mitchell retaining the Villa Rica address and other parties retaining District 1 property. And this is proof Mr. Mitchell's main residency is in District 4, not District 1. This is not about winning an election. It is about the honest and honorable thing to do. And with that, I yield back.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Kite. We will take your comments under advisement. Thank you. At this time, if there's no more citizen comment, we ask that you please leave this session and please review live on the screen.
One second,
Okay.
because due to the fact that both speakers are operating under the same access point, if the original speaker can come on and state her name and her address for the record.
Okay, she's here. Okay.
Okay, I'm here. My name is Elizabeth W. Bennett. My address is 4347 Midway Road, clearly in District 1, Douglasville,
Okay.
Georgia, 30134.
Thank you.
Okay.
And now the next speaker, if the next speaker could state your name and your address for the record.
Hi, my name is Linda Kripe, and I'm at 5915 Dorset Bridge Road. I am actually in District 3, but I'm a concerned citizen of the county.
Give me 1 second and I'm going to start the timer for you. Okay, and go.
Thank you. So my name is Linda Kripe, and I'm actually in District 3, and I'm an avid voter and a participant in the county of all things elections, as well as all things concerning the citizens of this county, including, I may not live in District 1, but I have a lot of friends in District 1, and it really concerns me that Henry Mitchell does not even represent the county's district. He doesn't represent the people of the county of the District 1, because there are crimes, including a double murder 3 weeks ago in that county, in that district. And he decided that he doesn't want to live there, so he doesn't have anything to do with it and doesn't suffer the same things that District 1 residents suffer as well too. Again, here, I want to also emphasize some of the things that Ms. Bennett also presented, and that is that their Article 45-2-1 residents of the district, the parties that are running for an office in a district have to be a resident at minimum 12 months prior to their qualifications for office, and he has lived in District 4 since July 19th of 2020, which is 2 years and 4 months. We do have witnesses, neighboring witnesses to that fact, and if this goes to a hearing or goes to the Supreme Court, we will be happy to subpoena those witnesses.
You still have time, or you finished with your statements?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Elizabeth Bennett and Ms. Linda Gright. We would take both of your comments under advisement. At this time, if you could please leave this part of the meeting and view on the live stream. Thank you both. Next, we'll have office report by Director Kidd.
Okay. Prior to your consideration, I wanted to reiterate a couple code sections and some information that the office has pertained as it pertains to this case to enter into the record. There is a code section that is relevant and germane to the subject matter. That is 21-2-217. These are the rules for determining residency. I am going to read Section 2 of those rules, and it reads as follows. A person shall not be considered to have lost such person's residency who leaves such person's home and goes into another state or county or municipality within the state for temporary purposes only, with the intention of returning unless such person registers to vote or performs other acts indicating the desire to change such person's citizenship and residency. I also want to read section 15. This is once again code section 21-2-217. For registration purposes, the Board of Registers, and for candidacy residency purposes, the Secretary of State, the election superintendent, or the hearing officer may consider evidence of where the person received significant mail, such as personal bills or any other evidence that indicates where a person resides. The Douglas County Board of Elections did, prior to this meeting, obtain the DMV record for Mr. Henry Mitchell III. The address on Mr. Henry Mitchell III's license with the DMV is 7751 Mountain Creek Way, Douglasville, Georgia 30134. The Douglas County Board of Elections also obtained the homestead exemption for Mr. Mitchell, which is listed as the exact same address as well. This concludes the information that the office is presenting at this time.
Okay, thank you, Director Kidd. If we can have a motion to go into executive session, unless there's any questions by any of the board members at this time.
I have a, what was the first, Director Kidd, what was the first 2-2-217?
21-2-217, and I first read number 2, and I also read number 15.
I got 15, I just hadn't caught up with you for 2, so.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So if there's no more questions, we can have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the challenge against Henry Mitchell III, Commissioner of District 1, against that Elizabeth Bennett brought to our attention. May we have a motion in a second, please?
Madam Chair, if we might state the basis for going into the executive session being potential litigation.
Which is potential litigation. So can we have a motion in a second, please?
So moved, I move.
Second. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Thank you. All will be back momentarily. Please stand by. Thank you.
Ms. Sierra or Twan, if anyone can indicate when we are clear.
You all, yep, you're clear. Sorry.
McCoy or Twan, one of you all will let us know when we're back on.
Okay, you're live. Okay, you're live now.
Thank you. Thank you for standing by. We are now out of executive session where we discussed a potential litigation. At this time, I have a motion to go back into regular session.
I second Michelle.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, we are now in regular session. As I stated, we discussed a potential litigation. At this time, I will pass it to Attorney Michael Coleman, Douglas County's attorney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first thing I want to address is that this meeting is not for the purpose of hearing the challenge brought by Ms. Bennett pursuant to OCGA section 21-2-6B. A challenge of this type must be brought within 2 weeks of the end of the qualifying period. Since we are well beyond the time period for bringing such a challenge, the challenge is not timely. It is not being considered by the board. So contrary to what I think you may have heard, and the public may have heard, this is not the purpose of the meeting to hear the challenge. The purpose of the meeting, the statute that I cited also provides that challenges of this type can be brought by the board or the superintendent on his own motion at any time prior to the election. So the purpose of the meeting is for the superintendent, i.e. the board, to determine whether or not it wants to bring the challenge on its own accord. In that respect, we have reviewed the law regarding residency and certain facts in this case that I would like to relate to the board, the results of our review, so that you can consider it in making a decision about whether or not you want to bring a challenge on your own right. First of all, I have interviewed Mr. Mitchell regarding the residency issue, and Mr. Mitchell has indicated that he has always intended to remain at the marital residence, which is the residence on the Mountain Creek Way. And so when I refer to the marital residence, that is the residence that I'm referring to, the Mountain Creek residence. He stated that he's always intended to remain there. That's been his home for many, many years. And he still considers it home. He indicated that he moved out of that residence temporarily during the pendency of his divorce proceeding. But it was never determined that he would not go back there. It was always his plan to go back there. Intent under the law with respect to residency, a person's intent is a critical factor. It may be the critical factor, whether or not it is his intent to remain there. The law states that a person can leave temporarily for sustained periods of time, so long as it is their intent to come back. That will still be considered their residency. The code section that was cited earlier by Mr. Kidd sets forth a number of factors to be considered, and most of them turn on intent. It's even the fact, for example, and I think that this example may be cited in that list of factors, but an example would be if someone goes away for military duty, or a kid goes away to college. Those are for sustained periods of absence, but their residency is where they intend to come back and remain as their home. So that is one factor, the intent with respect to him, his intent with respect to his residency. The speakers at the beginning of the meeting talked about the fact that some of the exhibits that they produced for the board divided the property among the two, and I don't think that is accurate. I think there was a complaint filed, and the complaint requested and asked for an equitable division of the property, but it was not, that was not done in any of the papers that were provided, any of the exhibits provided to the election board. There was no division of the property. There were several other factors that are relevant in terms of things that we've reviewed. One of those, I think, Mr. Kidd obtained the driver's license address today from the Department of Motor Vehicles, and it showed Mr. Mitchell's driver's license is at the Mountain Creek address, which is the marital residence. His homestead exemption, which is an important factor, not the only factor, but certainly important, is also listed at the Mountain Creek address. He gets significant mail there. In fact, tax records, tax documents with respect to the Blackberry Way address are mailed to Mountain Creek Way, as well as other significant mail is received there. So those are all factors for you to consider. Probably the most significant factor, and unfortunately I'm not able to present it to you, I'm going to tell you what it says. It is the proposed property agreement that the parties, I understand, have agreed to, with the judge. It hasn't been all signed yet because the judge is not in the county. It's a special judge who was called in to hear the case because the local judge has all recused himself. But the document hasn't been signed yet. But the document, which I understand all the parties have agreed to, provides that the Mountain Way address will be the property of Mr. Mitchell. He will be able to obtain and be able to move back to that address once the divorce is found, which further supports that as his residence. So based on those factors, it would appear that there's not really a valid reason to pursue it. Of course, the board makes that determination, but legally, I think it would appear that all the factors that I've described, if all of those are accurate, it would appear that legally residency would be established at the Mountain Creek address. So that is the report that I'd like to offer based on what we've looked at and the purpose of this meeting. So with that, I'll yield back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Coleman.
Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
One second, I would like to add one thing from the office.
Okay.
The office did have an opportunity to speak with Mr. Mitchell with his intention on where he intends to remain, which has been established as the predominant measure by which a board should be considering residency. And Mr. Mitchell does attest that the Mountain Creek Way is his home of residency. I would also like to add into the record, once again, 21-2-217, section 14, and I'll read it as follows. The specific address in the county or municipality in which a person has declared a homestead exemption, if a homestead exemption has been claimed, shall be deemed the person's residence address. As the office from the tax assessor's office of Douglas County has been able to obtain the homestead exemption for a Mr. Henry Mitchell III, and the homestead exemption for Mr. Henry Mitchell III is at the address located at 7755 Mountain Creek Way in Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kidd. Thank you, Attorney Coleman. Board, you heard the information. Is there a motion according to pursuing OCGA 21-2-6B at this time? Michelle, see your hand is up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I have actually a couple comments.
Okay.
The first is I wanted to thank Ms. Kripe and Ms. Bennett for joining us tonight. There was a lot of information that they provided us, and I can't imagine that was easy to come by and get to, and I certainly don't think it's easy to just jump on a call with the board and present that information. So I appreciate the insight. I think the concern for me that I have is that I believe that the people of District 1 have the right to be represented by somebody that lives in their community. So, you know, you may have your driver's license in that community, you may have a tax document, you may even have utility bills, but in reviewing all the documentation that was provided, and I understand it wasn't done in a timely fashion as stated by council. However, I do believe it's important for us to recognize that the requirement in 45-2-1 is that the person actually does reside in the district that they are representing. And I think it's only fair to that community that we consider that Commissioner Mitchell, who's a current, as I understand it, current sitting commissioner that's running for re-election, should be residing in the community that he's representing. So based on that, I would like to make a motion to challenge the qualifications of Commissioner Mitchell based on his permanent address being in District 1, and that's based on Code 21-2-6B, which is OCGA code, and move forward to a hearing.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? So it's 2-3 with the motion failing. Thank you, Michelle, for your comments. At this time, as you saw today, so at this time, the motion failed. So the Board of Election will not be considering the merits of this complaint. If there's no further agenda items at this time, okay, so hearing none, no board member concerns, the meeting is adjourned at 5:48 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.